Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is I Am Redeemed.
Recovery.
Recovery.
Yeah.
The influence of substance abuse in the lives of Miss Tawana Murray. And of course we have Miss Tawana Murray to talk about I Am Recovery. And getting away from substance and drug abuse. Mm-hmm. And Miss Murray, let me tell you how delighted we are to have you here because I think that the topic that we're talking about has quite a bit to do with what is going on in society today. Mm-hmm. And what we want you to do is to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of your experiences, and then we'll get into your recovery. Let's talk about it from that perspective.
Okay. My name is Tawana Murray. I'm from Shelbyville, Tennessee, and I grew up there as a child. At the age of 18, I moved out of town to go do some modeling. But during school, I did all the academics, cheerleading, homecoming, basketball, and all those things. By that time, I found out that I had done it all. So I was searching for something else. Mm-hmm. So I made a wrong turn to the other side of town where drug abuse was present. And then about a month later, I realized that that wasn't the life I wanted. Mm-hmm. But I already had addictive behavior. Mm-hmm. So I got into that struggle, and I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, to a treatment center to try and pursue a way out of it. And I would go up and back down, up and down. And finally, I realized that it was real, that it wasn't something that I could fight on myself. So I had to begin searching for a way out, and that became going to being in treatment. Mm-hmm. But I realized also that treatment it was just a holding cell for me to get instructions, and I had to find out how to live life on life's terms, and that is from the absence of drugs itself. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so in a real sense, you met drug abuse at 18 years of age?
At 18 years of age, I tried it. And yes, sir. Uh-huh. And I left there, and then it became a recreational thing. Mm-hmm. You just did it on recreations. Then it became using when you were happy, when you were sad, when you were mad, when you were glad. Mm-hmm. So I stopped, and then at the age of 26, it became just a little bit more familiar. And I battled it for 26, and then I moved here I moved to a treatment center here in Nashville, and I got some education information on it, but I didn't follow through with it. That was just it. I didn't do everything that I needed to do.
Well, you know, when you talk about your introduction to drugs and substance abuse, did you meet drugs and substance abuse the same way that most people generally? Why don't you give us some ideas in terms of how young people generally become involved in dealing with drugs and some of the reasons for their involvement?
As I say, it was me and some of my friends. How it began with us is it was just recreational. We were just out, and we decided we went out of town somewhere, and it was present. So we all tried it, and we managed to maintain that day. But at the same time, everybody's behavior is not the same. So I had addictive behavior in that situation. So I mean, I fought to get out of it. And like I say, I would use, and I would, and I would, and I would, and I would, and I would. And I knew then that it was a force that was beyond something that I could control. And then after the first time that I went to treatment, when I came back out and I fell again, my thought was, this is the way my life is going to be, because I wasn't educated on it until I went and found what the circumstances are, how your brain level works, and all the things that go into it. But it's easy to fall into because it was like doing what my peers done, and that's how a lot of people fall into substance abuse, is by your peers. Family members sometimes will just say, here you go. Like some of them say, well, here, go like this for me. You go light it, and then you're addicted to it. It becomes in your system, and that's a craving that you desire to have.
Would it be something comparable to tobacco addiction or anything like that? It's much stronger than tobacco addiction to deal with drugs.
No, I would say tobacco addiction is an addiction too. As I say, that's why I say I am recovering from a lot of things. Tobacco is too, but the thing for the drugs, it enters into your mind, it alters your mind. And when your mind is altered, it seems like there's no fight. So you have to do what it does to have abstinence from that.
And so from what I understand, you've got a program. You've been working for the longest in terms of creating a program of study in a real sense to deal with individuals who happen to have had the same situation that you're now faced with. And so what we're going to do, we're going to take our first commercial break. Okay. And then we're going to come back and we're going to devote the next 8 minutes to you talking about the program that you have and how you think that this program might be able to help other individuals who might find themselves in the same situation that you're in, and even if it's the kind of program you think that it can be more widely used.
Yes, sir.
You see, this is what we want you to talk about, because I think that you indicated earlier that you had a program that you've been trying to deal with, and that you think that you need more support.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think that if you give us the kind of information that our audience is looking for this morning, you might be able to find more support for that. And so what we're going to do, we're going to take our first commercial break, and then we're going to come back, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. But that's essentially, so we're going to give you an opportunity to talk about your program.
Okay.
And whatever you think that you've been trying to push it with other folks, push it with me today. Okay. You see, and then after that, we'll have 10 minutes. And then we'll determine what else we want to talk about in relation to what we've already said. Okay. But I think the information that you gave me, I appreciate that.
No problem, sir.
Thank you. I think I feel a little better now. And so you've got 8 minutes. I'll just to Wanda Murray.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I am
Recovery.
Okay. And substance and drug and substance abuse. That's the colon I put behind it. And you've got a program that's called I Am Recovery.
Yes, sir.
And so that's what I want to talk about during this 8-minute segment, in terms of how that program came to you and et cetera, and how you feel that you can help other folks, and some examples of what you've already been able to do. In other words, this is your opportunity to sell.
To sell, yes,
sell this program.
Yes,
if you got something to sell, then
yes,
this is time, especially since nobody's here but you.
Okay.
And this is your program, okay? I Am Recovery. It'll be all right. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Miss Tawana Murray, and she's the author of a program called I Am Recovery, Drug and Substance Abuse, and she's got a lot of information in reference to the challenges that young people and most people have in terms of dealing with drug and substance abuse. And Ms. Murray, let's give you an opportunity to talk about the program that you have, I Am Recovery, and to give us some idea as to how it's structured and how folks might be able to buy into the kind of program that you have.
Okay. The I Am Recovery program come about because through my life I had some struggles. I placed my kids with my mom. I gave up on everything that I had. I would work sometimes, try to go to college, up and down battles. And within that, I was hiding within myself. And I knew that there had to be a way to find somewhere to find a way out. Most people look down on people in recovery, but you know, if you don't know what it is, then you won't know how to structure the thing itself. So I would take information. I went to several treatment centers, and as I say, I had to realize it was a safety net for me, because I didn't feel confident enough in myself, so I went inside to grab a hold to what I needed to do. I ended up going. I've been to jail. You know, I went in there, and I'm like, God, you got to show me what to do. How can I do this? So I began studying and reading and studying. But also, when I came out, I realized that I had to go to one place for one thing, one place to another thing. I wasn't dealing with my inner self. I wasn't, you know, they had put me on medication. All those things, you go from one spot to the other, and it was just like it was caving me in. I was wanting to throw the towel in. So I began to put different things together as I went to different places, got different information. I networked the information together. So in last November, I got down with myself, and I wrote the program I Am Recovery. I Am Recovery entails different aspects of how to recover: self-worth, self-esteem, your boundaries, journaling, codependency, let's see, just different aspects of how to get back to within yourself. Also, you have to have somebody to be accountable to, someone that you can call. Like say in recovery, they say have a sponsor. If it's not a sponsor, let it be a friend. Let someone know when you're feeling bad. You know, hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Those things cause you to downfall. But I have to check myself daily, even today, to know that recovery is real. It's real, but it's also doable. It's doable. It's just a way out of it. So the curriculum, it's a curriculum, and it has, like I said, we do the step studies, we do spirituality. It entails inventorying yourself, self-worth, like I say, self-esteem. How to learn to love yourself. That's the main thing. Your family, because like I said, my family was, well, I didn't think, I thought if I was out of their lives that it would be fixed. No, I destroyed them because I wasn't in their lives. So with my absence, that left my responsibilities on my mother. But by the grace of God, we made it through that. Today, as I say, I'm well, I'm whole. I do a recovery meeting at one of the institutions here, which works. I'm able to share about that. But like I say, without someone behind you, without somebody showing you or leading you or believing in you. But first of all, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that the program works, because it does. AA, I'll give it all the credit in the world. The treatment centers, they're good, but you can't stay in there forever. So you have to find a way to grab a hold. And by grabbing a hold, what I done was I put this program together, and I believe it works because it's all the things that have kept me clean and sober today.
And so in a real sense, you're using your life as an example of an individual who has had some real substance abuse problems. But I would imagine that one of the most important considerations is to admit that you've had the problem, or that you have the problem. How does that come about in terms of an individual?
Really, they say you have to hit rock bottom before you know that it's real. 70% of the people have to go that way. Some people make it out, but at the same time, you have to admit that there's something wrong. You can't fix it. If something's not broken, you won't fix it. When I realized, because I go to college, I'd drop out, I'd work, I'd stop. You know, just all the things that were up and down battles let me know that that's not how stable people live. You know, you can look around within yourself and within your family and see the structure. And like I say, destruction comes when you're not whole within yourself. But the main thing is asking for help. And when you ask for help, there are all kind of, that's why I moved to Nashville. Nashville has plenty of opportunities. There are so many people, so many entities that are willing to bring people up. Even from, homelessness, you know, all of those things fall into that. Most of the things that happen with drug addiction usually comes from another situation happening, and then it all falls into place. You're homeless, so you give up. You don't have a job, so you give up. You need medication, you can't afford it, so you give up. All of these things. But the major structure is, I love Nashville because Nashville provides those opportunities, but you got to be willing to go out there and find them and ask for help.
And so it's an individual's desire that in a real sense helps to overcome addiction, and anything else that is added to it is simply a supplement to the individual's desire. And so if an individual does not wish to be clean, they cannot be clean. No matter what they say, and they've got to have a psychological, you said that they have to have a psychological understanding, and that this is what I have to do, and be able to stick to that. Is that it? That's
exactly it. You have to have a psychological change. And I used to say, oh Lord, I want to change, help me change. The change was there, but I had to follow through with it. Every time that I went back into substance abuse, it wasn't because the change wasn't there, it was because I was changing what I was doing. As long as I followed through on the path of what I needed to do, then it works. That's why they say it works if you work it, and that's the honest truth. But you can't work it unless you fix the problem, and that is within yourself. I tried it for my kids, for my parents, for my friends, for the church. None of that worked until I got me fixed. But you can't help anyone until you help yourself.
And so it's an individual decision that has to be made, and I would imagine that that's like anything else. Whether you're dealing with the ability to try to achieve or whatever it is, it has to first come from a decision that an individual has to make, and unless he or she makes that decision to do that, then it can never be done.
Correct. That's correct. You have to. That's the number one thing in the principles and the solutions. That's the number one. Admitting that there is a problem. Admitting that there's a problem. And once you admit it, then you begin. Then everything begins to open up. Yeah, because you free yourself. It's kind of like being in the closet. When you're in the closet, you can't get in the air unless you come out. And once you come out of it, everything falls into place.
And so when we talk about that, what impact does substance abuse have? And that's what we want to do. We're going to make some statements in reference to that, and when we come back, we'll have a 10-minute segment dealing with the impact on families and on societies. But substance abuse has a greater impact upon others around you in a real sense than it has upon on you. And even though they might not be involved with drugs or substance, your involvement really impacts them as if they ought to or they should have been involved. Is that what we're saying? And what we will do, I think we're getting ready for our second commercial break, Ms. Murray, and what we'll do, you'll have about 10 minutes to talk about the aspects of the family and society and et cetera, some of those things that will help other folks overcome addiction. And so we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Talk about that's this, and so I'll just introduce this as I am recovery, you drugs and substance abuse, and I'll introduce that third segment, and then we'll have 10 minutes and anything that you want to talk about, because you know what you need to say in order to make people familiar with your program and want to become a part of your program. And if you've got some way that you lay it out, that is, you've got a classroom situation, they have to, what should an individual do if they wish to become involved in your particular program? 1, 2, 3, 4. Just that's 10 minutes, and so that'll be the beginning of what we talk about. How can an individual become involved in I am recovery? Okay.
Because I started out doing a lot of volunteering, which I volunteer now with I do volunteering for NAMI, Room in the Inn. I do a lot of volunteering.
Yeah, well, that's what I want. Yeah, just bring all that in. You see, and if you
volunteering is where it begins, and you volunteer your time. As I say, I volunteer to go to the prisons and speak with the ladies, because I know what it's like. I know it can be done. You know, I used to.
Thank you, and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Miss Murray, Mr. Tawana Murray, and she's giving us some information in reference to a program that she has developed dealing with drugs and substance abuse called I Am Recovery. And so, Miss Murray, let's give you an opportunity during the last 10 minutes that we have here to tell our audience about this particular program and how this program might be different from any other program. And if individuals would like to know more about this particular program, then how they might be able to get in touch with you or somebody who can represent you. Let's talk about it from that perspective. Okay.
I Am Recovery, let's say, is a curriculum of recovery. It could be used as an individual program. It could be used as a student program or whatever, but the basis of it is to let everyone know the outlooks and the inputs on recovery. When I was out there, as I say, I placed my children with my mom, and I went on to do different things. I tried to work and couldn't do any of that, but because I wasn't fulfilling the things that I needed to fulfill, life on life's terms is what I was not doing. I was running instead of dealing with the things. So the curriculum itself, as I say, it deals with inventorying yourself. It deals with family issues. It deals with learning to look for a job, learning to be educated, learning to ask for help, all those things right there. As I say, I went to several treatment centers, but I had to go like 7 different places to get 7 different outlooks of help. So what I done was I put the whole curriculum together as one. It entails everything that the spirituality, the spiritual awakenings, the the minutes, the promises, dealing with, like I say, dealing with yourself is the main issue, which is I say, but when you deal with it in a whole, finding out in recovery that you're not by yourself, but also finding out the impact that it causes your family. As I say, you think that you're out there alone, but you're not. You may leave your friends, you may leave your children, you leave a job, you have people wondering where you are and how you are without knowledge of that. But once they get out there, it involves everybody. It involves the community, because if you don't go to your job, then they need to find somebody else. If you're not with your kids, there's somebody else that has to step in for you. But as I say, once you get out there and you ask for help, you can find it. I Am Recovery, there's a website for that, which I'll leave the website address for that. But it can be reached, and I don't mind sharing. As I say, I do a lot of volunteering work. Volunteering is the best way to stay together within yourself and within the community and helping others.
Say that.
Volunteering, it is volunteering. I would walk, when I first started trying to get help, I walked from East Nashville to South Nashville to volunteer to fold clothes, because I did not want that old lifestyle again. And I just continued to volunteer. And as each day go by, as they say, it's one a day. I try to live for the future, and I try to live for the past. But I have to get up every day and set a goal, because it's not about having my presence felt. I want now to have my absence. I don't want to have my presence known. I want to have my absence felt. Letting myself know that I did something to help somebody today. And I'm just not, most people, when you're out there, it's like a selfish program. But when you really decide that you want to help, you have all the desires to help someone else. And so that's what I do today. I look for ways to help someone else. That's why I put this program, the curriculum together, so that others can be seen and to know that the recovery is possible.
In other well, there's a psychological thing in reference to how you feel in reference to somebody else, and giving, and that kind of psychological thing that helps to promote what you're trying to do. That is to help promote your ability to be able to move beyond drugs and substance abuse. Is that what we're saying? Yeah,
exactly what you're saying, because at one point in time I was, which when anything is necessary, please do it. If you got cancer, you got to go to the cancer doctor. If you got a backache, you need to go to, whatever it takes is what you got to do. So at one point in time I was taking medication, and I mean, I felt like it helped me, but then again I had bad days and good days. But once I figured out, once you learn to look at yourself, self-inventory is the #1 thing. Look at what it does to your family. Look at what it does to your kids. Look at life passing you by. When you get to that point right there, today I am free of all of those things, the medication and everything, because I deal with me every day. If something upsets me, I got to take a look back. Oh, what part does this play on me? Because everything starts in the mind. They say, oh, I relapse. You got to think about going over it to get that drug before you actually use it. So it's a mind-altering substance, but it's also a mind-altering turnaround.
And so anything that you can do in order to look within yourself in a real sense, and determine that it is your responsibility. You got yourself into this situation. Now you ought to be able, now you certainly could expect help, and other people will help you, but they cannot help you if you're not willing to help yourself. Correct. I've heard that, that's a statement that I've heard people say, that you can't help anybody until they're willing to help themselves. Would you apply that to what you're doing here? Oh yes, I mean, I had people pulling me up. I had one of my friends said, well, everywhere I went, it would be like a nuisance at first. Here he comes trying to tell me, well, get it right, get it right. And I heard it, and I go back to that. But no one can do it. You have to do it for yourself. And it is possible to do. And as I say, every day is still not a good day. Being clean and sober does not just make normal problems go away. But it gives me the ability to deal with them in a normal sense, in a sense that it's going to be okay anyway. As long as I don't pick up, I'm good. That's what it's about. As long as you don't pick up. What do you mean pick up?
As long as you don't use. Because I found out there's not a problem big enough to use. Those excuses, oh, well, so-and-so happened, or this, somebody said this, that's not, those are excuses. Those are excuses. So.
And you think that a large number of folks generally come up with some kind of justification in terms of why they are in the situation that they're in. Is that what we're saying? Yes, sir. I justified it for years. Oh, I did this. Oh, I lost that. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. Those were all excuses. You know, and then within yourself. But the major factor, the substance abuse brings a lot of depression. And depression will have you wanting to hide out, wanting not to do anything. But when you see those things coming, it's time to go to a meeting. It's time to call a sponsor. And that's one of the main things. I have a young lady I sponsor today. I started out with 4. I'm down. I have 1 today. She's been with me over a year.
And we do the step studies together. We read together. We fellowship together. We call. We talk. We share. When I have a problem, I call her. When she has one, she calls me. AA meetings. I say, find a meeting somewhere. If you need to find a church, find a way out because you know yourself better than anybody knows you. When you know that you're not feeling the way you should feel, it's time to go and admit to someone, hey, I'm feeling this way and desire for help.
You know, I'm reminded, Ms. Murray, that when we talk about love and et cetera, that's essentially what you're expressing now, which is to say that when you meet an individual, you have to show love and they can show love. But when we recognize that there are three elements of love: respect, understanding, goodwill, which is to say that if you can bring these ideas into your life, that is, you want to respect everybody, you want to love everybody, you want to understand everybody, and you want to have goodwill to everybody. And I think that that's the definition of love. And if you have that, then it comes off, and other folks can help you in terms of whatever your situation might be. Do you find that to be true in terms of what you're doing?
I found that to be very true. Maya Angelou made a statement one time, something that she shared, and it's true, that God brings rainbows even in storms, which means somebody can tell you, you can be having a bad day, somebody can smile. That's a rainbow to you. Even in the midst of storms, there are times, but you have to look beyond your situation. And one of the quotes that I love more than any quote I've heard is Helen Keller. When they asked her what would be worse than being blind, she said having sight and no vision. Because if you don't look out and see that you can make it, that there's another way out, then you're always going to be there. Even a blind person can still see because it begins in your heart and in your mind. Once you learn to love yourself, everything else follows naturally. So recovery is possible.
And so, Ms. Mary, you think that it is possible to replicate your program and do your program, and folks who are involved. Now, where are you carrying this program to? I mean, who have you tried to influence in terms of making this a program that people can come to class and deal with, and et cetera? How are you doing that?
I've shared the program with drug court in another town, a small town from here, and it passed the drug court system. They overviewed it. So the program is passable and it's doable, and it can be on anywhere. Anybody that would like to utilize the program, I have no problem with sharing it with them, because I know it saves lives, because it saved my life.
And so you've got an internet connection in reference to this particular program?
Yeah, I have a website.
What's your website?
The website is www.tawanda552.st@gmail.com. That's tawanda552.st@gmail.com.
Now, if they search that, can they find this without your web page address?
No, we're changing the website now because we're putting a curriculum, adding an extra curriculum to it. But for right now, this is how they can get the information.
But this is a program that you want people to become familiar with, and that if they become familiar with, they can become more involved.
Correct.
And that it might be that key.
Yes, sir.
That's necessary. And let me thank you, Ms. Murray, for bringing that excellent information. And let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you, and good morning.